10 reasons why the bull market could be ending on Monday. Guys and girls, I just posted a thread on Twitter showing 10 different charts that can produce a bear market beginning starting next week. And in this video, I want to go through these 10 charts in a little bit of detail and explore why the bear market could be beginning. A disclaimer, okay? So there are currently, from the things that I look at, there is a higher technical probability that Bitcoin will be having a bearish continuation in the intermediate term than a bullish continuation. And we're going to be exploring those charts that look into why that will be the case. You could disagree, and I would love you guys to disagree. If you have any comment towards the opposite direction of what I'm thinking, then please feel free to let me know in the chat. I am all ears. I think Bitcoin can still go to potential new all-time highs, but for that to happen, there needs to be specific data points regarding monetary policy that are released. If you want to find out about the bull case, then watch until the end. Guys, before we do that though, if we can destroy the like button, number one, and number two, make sure we get to 60,000 subscribers. It would mean the absolute world to me. It would be amazing. We're currently 42 subscribers away from 60K, and if we can reach 60,000, tomorrow I'll drop a special 60,000 subscriber video. If you've done that, let's get into the price of Bitcoin. Well, let's get into these charts and talk about why we could be starting the bear market Monday. And another disclaimer, I'm a Bitcoin maxi, guys. I'm a Bitcoin maxi. I have all of my businesses in crypto. 50% of my net worth is in Bitcoin only. So I want Bitcoin to go up, and I think Bitcoin will go up in the macro. So let's cover the first chart. Chart number one is looking at the 50 simple moving average. This moving average, or well, this is the 54. But I prefer the 50, no, this should be the 50, but I actually prefer the 54 simple moving average a little bit more than the 50 simple moving average. When we go to the monthly time frame, you can see that in every single cycle, not just the prior two cycles, but even in the Genesis cycle, when Bitcoin dipped below the blue line and closed below it, even with one weekly candle, it led to us going into a bear market. In 2017, 2018, the same thing happens. Bitcoin goes below the 54 or the 50 simple, breaks below it, and you head to the bear markets. And then finally, in the last bull market cycle, in March of 2022, you break below the 50 simple, you retest it, and then down goes the price of Bitcoin. One weekly candle closure below is enough. And when you zoom in to where the price is at today, you can notice that we're breaking below. Guys and girls, there's still 1 day and about 6 hours left until the weekly candle closes. And unless we magically make it over above 100K or $102,000, then unfortunately we're going to be breaking below this blue line. We have the CME chart. The CME chart is closed, and the CME has closed at Bitcoin trading at $94,000. It's very likely that Bitcoin would come down, close that CME gap going into next week. So right now, the probabilities of us closing below this blue line are pretty high. That is bearish charts number one. Bearish chart number two looks at monthly multi-cycle resistance. Since 2017, Bitcoin has produced tops in every cycle. And during these tops, you've retested this yellow ascending line. In 2017, when Bitcoin reached 20K for the first time, you created the first test on this yellow line of resistance. Then in 2021, you've tested it twice when you hit the 60s the first time, and then the ultimate all-time high, which was at 69K. That was the second test to this yellow line of resistance, and then down went the price of Bitcoin. We have tested this yellow line of resistance twice as well, and now we're heading to the downside. One important thing to note is that I think from a technical perspective, the price of Bitcoin in this cycle is very much comparable to the price of Bitcoin in the prior cycle. I think this cycle and the prior cycle, in relative to the other two cycles, is quite similar. Obviously, the magnitude, the scale of which Bitcoin, how much we went up in 2020, 2021 is far greater than how much Bitcoin went up in 2023, 2025. But the thing is, in the last cycle, they printed 100%, they doubled the money supply in existence, which led to all equities and risk on assets flying following quantitative easing. We've not seen quantitative easing yet so far in the cycle, which is why we've been more muted. But when you look at these two, they do look quite similar. And I just wanted to note that I think this cycle and the last cycle are pretty similar in terms of TA breakdown. And we've seen those two tops. This was a bearish divergence. This is also a bearish divergence. I'll cover those bearish divergences in a later chart. In almost two charts, we're going to get to it, so don't worry. But this is the monthly cycle. This is the monthly chart, and we've seen this multi-cycle retest, and now we're getting a rejection downwards. Chart number 3 is looking at the MACD bearish crossover again on the monthly time frame. The last two times the MACD created a bearish crossover on this time frame was leading into the same time when Bitcoin was breaking below the blue line, which was the 50 or the 54 simple moving average. Basically around the same moment, you got the MACD bearish crossover, and that always led to price going to the bearish way as to the bullish way. When we look at the current crossover, it will get confirmed if this monthly candle, the November candle, finishes around the 100K to the 90K regions. I mean, if we rocket to 110, which is possible, obviously, then it will not happen. But the likelihood of us getting that bearish crossover at the moment is higher than us not getting that bearish crossover. It's imminent. I think it's likely going to happen, but we've never, ever, ever went and then reversed to new all-time highs following a MACD monthly bearish crossover. I just wanted to highlight that. Chart number 4. We know that the Bitcoin cycle comparisons, when we bring in the prior two cycles, according to the prior two cycles, we should have topped out already in October. That's just how they work. So when you look at the Bitcoin halving cycle comparison, we should have topped out already. I'll give you a note on that at the end of the video. But when you focus on the last cycle specifically, you know I like the last cycle. When you go from the exact halving event, the day of the halving, May 11th, 2020, to get to the top of the price of that specific cycle, which was 69,000, it took 525 days and 75 weeks to go from halving event to the top of the cycle. When you look at this cycle, our halving event took place on April 20th, 2024. If October 6th was the top, that would have also translated to 75 weeks, which is 525 days. Very scary, but you know, it's quite interesting at the same time, and I thought I would bring it up in this video and in this thread. The bearish divergences, like I said, bearish divergence happened here, bearish divergence is happening here. In the current cycle, one difference we have to the prior cycle is that the bearish divergence is greater. You've created 3 lower highs as to price action's 3 higher highs. So the RSI is pointing out an even stronger bearish divergence as to the bearish divergence that took place in the prior cycle. If you look at the parabolic structure, which, I mean, it's very tough to say that this is an x squared graph. I think it's more of a linear structure than a full parabola, but you can consider it to be a parabola by maybe I think you can still make the argument. Even if it's not a parabola still, if this was a linear ascending support, you broke the linear support. But if it's a parabola, parabolas in technical analysis, they see 4 bases. Base 1, base 2, base 3, base 4. After base number 4, you get a final push to the upside, and then when you break the structure, the parabola is over. Currently, the structure is broken. Chart number 7. If you look at the ascending linear support, the yellow line on the weekly time frame, ascending linear support is broken to the downside. When you look at the descending support, which are the blue lines that took place in all of the consolidations of this bull market, they all held up and caused Bitcoin to go to new all-time highs. Currently, the blue line is being broken to the downside. If Bitcoin closes this weekly candle in 100K, 102K, then we'll make it back, yes. But currently, it does look like we're seeing the breakdown. If it changes, then on Sunday morning or Monday morning, 4 a.m. my time, I'm going to be uploading a video where I cover the trades and how my trades are changing, because I'm going to make the decision based off of how this weekly candle closes. If we get this bearish close and if all of these things are confirmed bearish, then I'm going to be switching my bullish positions on weeks into more likely bearish short positions. So if you want to be staying tuned for that, then make sure to subscribe. Let's make sure we get to 60,000 subscribers, destroy the like button, and prepare with your week's account ready. And with the first link down in the description below, you'll be able to get a wonderful bonus over on weeks when you sign up. with your email address and password. It takes less than a minute to do so. And link your phone number to your account. You can, off the bat, claim the first new user reward, which is a $10 to a $100 coupon, which Weeks will give you on random, and it will take about 2 days for them to verify. And after 2 days, you should be able to get this bonus and start using it in your trading. If you deposit money to your exchange, you'll be eligible for even more bonuses. So make sure you get your Weeks account ready before my video Monday morning. It's going to be 4 a.m. Dubai time, because that is when the weekly candle officially comes to a close. Going back into chart number 8, whenever Bitcoin created a capitulated low. So let's say this was April 2025, post-Trump's first tariffs. This was the Japanese yen carry trade when Bitcoin fell to 49,000, September 2023, etc. In all of these lows, Bitcoin bottomed the RSI at 44. You never drop below almost the 44 level, apart from in April 2025, where you fell below it just by a little bit, and then you bounced immediately back to the upside. When you look at the current drop has caused Bitcoin to fall below the 44 mark. Another very bearish sign. Chart number 9, whenever Bitcoin fell in those capitulation events, you never drop below the prior swing high created. So the swing low was always greater in price than the prior swing high. So let's look at the post ETF launch, Bitcoin at 49K. And then the swing low after the swing high was so the post ETF launch was 48K, and then the swing low was 49K, depending on what exchange you're looking at. In March of 2024, you created an all-time high above 70K for the first time. You hit $73,000. The swing low created after the swing high was 74K in April of 2025. Then you look at this high created at 109. That was at 109, and currently we're falling below that swing high. The swing low is still being made. We're now at $96,000. Another bearish chart. And the final bearish chart before I share my short-term opinions and overall opinions is that there is a double top on the daily time frame. You broke that neckline, you retested it, got a rejection, confirming the pattern, and currently that has a target in the 88Ks. But I think we can close the CME gap first. That's step number 1, which is at 92. And then ultimately, I think we can see a drop into the lower 70s. That's what I think will ultimately happen. So thoughts. In the very short term, I think a bounce is due, given the fact that fear is incredibly low. Or, well, fear is high, but the reading is very, very low. This is what I mean. The fear and greed index is currently at 10. And in all of my years in Bitcoin, I've never seen the fear and greed index read at 10 extreme fear. When there is so much fear, it is very, very likely that you get a bounce. And if we do see a bounce, I think we will bounce to the 54 simple moving average, which is currently at 101.6. But if we get that rejection, then that's going to confirm lower price movement towards, well, lower price movement, right? But I do expect at least some sort of a short-term push back up. And when it comes to my portfolio, guys, I still own 50% of my portfolio in Bitcoin. The reason is I could sell my Bitcoin now, right? I'm very confident that potentially Bitcoin is going to come to the downside. I could hedge my risk, sell my Bitcoin. Let's say I have theoretically, right? Let's say I have theoretically 1 Bitcoin. If I sell my Bitcoin now, Bitcoin drops to 77K, I can buy back in cheaper, potentially. But what will happen is if Bitcoin goes up now and I have to buy back in after Bitcoin breaks above, let's say, the bull and bear market support bands, my 1 Bitcoin will drop to around 0.86 Bitcoin. So would I rather have 1 Bitcoin, right, and then face the potential drop to the 70s and add more there, or B, sell my 1 Bitcoin and have to rebuy in at around 113, but instead of having 1 Bitcoin, I'm going to have like 0.86 Bitcoin. I would rather choose to keep my 1 Bitcoin. So I'm keeping my Bitcoin. I'm not selling the Bitcoin. Altcoins are a little bit different, but I'll do a full altcoin update next week when I post an altcoin thread. So make sure that you're staying tuned on this channel. So make sure to subscribe and make sure to follow me on Twitter, where I drop more gems like that one. And my link to my Twitter will be also in the description of this video. It is CryptoKid on Twitter. You can find it by typing CryptoKid on your search bar. And I think that is pretty much it. So guys and girls, again, final time. Nobody has a crystal ball. I can just look at charts, we can look at mathematical data and give probabilities. I would love if Bitcoin rockets to $1 million. I would love that. But from the looks of things now, it doesn't appear that's to be the likelier case. And can things change? Of course they can change. This is markets. Every day there's something new. So when there's something new, analysis will adjust slightly. And this is why I bring to you daily videos. So make sure to follow them daily, and I think you should be doing fine in the markets if you're able to watch these daily updates. Guys and girls, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all on the next video. Hopefully a 60,000 subscriber special tomorrow. Bye-bye, guys.